G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this edition of Jim's 5am Club. It's Sunday, late Sunday afternoon, got about an hour before it gets dark, and I thought I'd go on a bushwalk, another bushwalk for today. So I've done quite a bit of walking. I did about a 3-hour walk this morning, and I'm going to do the other half now, so I'll just try and go for about an hour and see if I can crank out a couple of book summaries just to help click along my tally. I've got over 1,100 vlogs that I've put together, and the average vlog is about 15 minutes. So you can imagine the library that I've amassed over the past year is quite significant, and I think I'm well on the path of being one of the most prolific vloggers of personal development material in Sydney, possibly Australia, and who knows, possibly the world as well. Because 1,000 vlogs is a lot of vlogging, I've got to tell you. There was a point during the year where I was doing 5 or 6 a day just to keep the numbers cranking along, and we've made great progress to date. So what I want to do today is take you through a book summary. This book is a little bit different to the books that we normally read and we normally go through. It's one on politics, and it's entitled Democracies Die. Democracies Die by an author named Steven Levitsky. Steven Levitsky penned a book on democracy and how democracy can die. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to die, but it has the potential of dying if not managed and not given the right nutrients and nurturing. So let's kick off this book summary. I'm just got to watch where I'm walking here because it's a little bit treacherous. I don't want to roll my ankle. Just wait until I get to a flatter area. But the author kicks off the book with a key quote, a key point, where he says, democracies tend to erode slowly over time, step by step. And I guess the same thing happens to our values, our principles, our morals, a whole stack of things in our life tends to drop away and erode step by step. So we'll just go through, g'day mate, we'll just go through and identify and see if we can pick up some lessons as to what causes this erosion of democracy step by step, and what can we learn from these points that the author has put together. So the first key point that the author puts forward is that strong gatekeepers are required in order to keep democracy safe. Strong gatekeepers are required to keep democracy safe. So people need to make sure our governments, our political system needs to maintain a gatekeeper role to make sure that we protect and nurture democracy as much as we can, because, as the author alluded to, step by step it gets lost, and for each step that gets lost it takes 2 steps or 3 steps to try and regain the lost ground that you've missed out on. And the author here reminds us that political parties should be protectors of democracy and not the ones who disable or unravel democracy. And he gave an example here of Hugo Chavez, where a very, very popular political figure dismantled democracy in Venezuela. And the way he ruined democracy, the way he dismantled it, is that he packed the Supreme Court with sycophants. He silenced the independent media, and he exiled or imprisoned his rivals or anybody who had opposing views. So the reason why democracy disappeared in Venezuela and the reason why Venezuela is in such a mess is because its gatekeepers did not do their jobs. The gatekeepers just allowed democracy to evaporate, to be damaged, to be maimed without protecting it. So the goal is, in a democracy, the key goal is to quickly and effectively reject extremists so they don't become normalised. This is a powerful point. G'day. So the key message coming from this book here is that democracy needs to be protected. Needs to be protected so that extremism is not normalised, because once extremism is allowed to flourish, once extremism is allowed to gain a foothold, then what happens is that a lot of steps, a lot of ground is lost. And we've seen that recently with COVID-19, where we've had extremist views being expressed freely on social media, where I think it gets to the point where a lot of people think, or a lot of people are fooled, should I say, to think that social media is reality. Just because you've got a few very, very vocal, very, very active people on social media pushing an agenda all over the place and trying to silence and trying to cancel conservative views, doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is right, and doesn't necessarily suggest that what they're saying represents the majority view, the view of the silent Australians, the ones who don't voice their opinions on social media, the ones who just put their heads down, get their job done, go to work, come home, and just keep their political opinions, their views to themselves until it comes, of course, time to vote, and then all of a sudden reality hits. So the key point from this author is that democracy needs to protect democracy by rejecting quickly any anti-democratic influence. Pretty impressive. And then the author goes on to give a couple of examples of how democracy has been impacted or threatened in various situations. And they use Donald Trump and the US political process and events over the past few years as an example. And he said that Donald Trump was a master at bypassing gatekeepers. and began to tear down democratic institutions, not only in America, but across the world. So once again, the warning bells need to ring when situations like that start to evolve and start to take root. So as they say, or as the author says, that the Trump administration, or Donald Trump as a political leader, had a number of red flags, and that was all due to the fact that what got him going, or what got him motivated, was money and fame. And he got into politics by bypassing the traditional party process, and he tried to silence referees and sideline opponents, such as media outlets, by calling what they reported as fake news. So, according to this author, Donald Trump and his influence on politics was mainly to undermine the democratic process. An interesting view, and I guess everybody's got their own opinion on Donald Trump. Some love him, some don't love him, and but most people have a strong view either way. He was very much a political master at I guess generating emotion and support and polarising views across not only his own political party, but across America and across the world. The last point to come out of this book, entitled Democracies Fail, is that if we hold fast our democratic norms, we have a chance of resisting authoritarianism. So the author here has a strong call to action for each and every one of us to stick to our guns and to maintain and to promote and to enhance, where possible, the democratic ideals in order to resist damage being caused, which will have an everlasting and significant long-term effect on the political process. So once again, in summary, fighting extremism should always be done within the limits of democracy, which means that there must be compromise. It's important to listen to the opposition views, listen to what people are saying, but to understand that there needs to be an opposition to extremism, because when we operate at either extreme, then a lot of people are disenfranchised, and in that way we get a bigger political uproar as people feel disenfranchised. So the author then suggests that we need to focus on cooperation rather than polarisation. It's never going to be perfect. No political leader, no political party, no country, no family, no person will ever be perfect. But we need to be in a position where a system can present realistic alternatives, and it's not my way or the highway. And as we suggested, and as we know, that polarisation, whilst it gives you an opportunity to see where you stand, it is dangerous because it becomes us against them. And when you've got people thinking selfishly about their own needs as opposed to the needs of the greater group, then you know that the system that is governing the nation is in turmoil. And I guess what we're talking about here is identity politics is a dangerous place to be, because it's us against them. It's all about minority groups, minority interests, and we're ignoring the sweet spot, which are the majority of people. I remember hearing John Howard talk on identity politics, saying that when he was in government, he would institute policies that would try and benefit all people across the community rather than a particular group. So, for example, he said that he'd focus on things like small business, because small business impacts all communities, regardless of race, gender. So if you focus on policies, if you focus on things that worked across the community, then you're probably in a better position to get a more reasonable, balanced outcome than just trying to focus on gender issues or things that impact small groups at the cost of impacting and disenfranchising other groups. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. A tricky topic, but a good topic to cover nonetheless, given the political turmoil that we currently have with our Premier Gladys Berejiklian facing ICAC and all the innuendo which follows. But I sincerely hope that she's able to clear her name, which I'm sure she will. She's a very, very smart woman, and I'm sure she'll be able to sort herself out and her challenges out. So we'll chat again. Thank you very much, and it's great being partners in each other's growth and development, where we can live, learn and pass it on. And I look forward to coming to you from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment, where we can chat about another book, another topic, and see where it leads us. Because none of the book summaries that I do are edited. They're presented without edit. And that's the way I like doing things, because it comes from the heart and it's not contrived. And we're putting forward not necessarily my own opinions, but the opinions of the authors that have written in those books and have published that material for the world to consider. Yassas, take care, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.